Manchester to the red half, then Henry in the Telegraph. A story on Erik Ten Hag, who's never out the press for long, as he twin shadows over Ten Hag are cleared, but dark cloud still looms. Those twin shadows being Thomas Tuchel, we know what's happened to him, and Gareth Southgate, who's said that he's going to have a year off. Good news for Erik.
Yes, but that dark cloud still looms in terms of Brentford at the weekend. Thomas Frank is an outstanding manager. Apparently there was some contact between Manchester United and him in the past. And
Henry mentioned Brentford being a tough game. It doesn't get much tougher than Fenerbahce in Istanbul, where a certain Jose Mourinho waits, and I'm sure he'd be very happy to stick the knife in, because that's kind of the way he operates.
You took the words out of my mouth there. I'm off to Istanbul next week for that game, and it's going to be quite tasty, I think, and Jose will revel.
Performance in the second half.
Yeah, let's pick up on the second half in particular then, because I don't want to assume, because we know what that makes. But I would suggest you have seen, you have been in, or you have played against teams where the opposition players don't quite trust what the manager is saying to them, or don't quite buy in to the messages coming to them. But that second half, did that show a team that actually had bought in and were playing for Erik Ten Hag, as well as for themselves? Because number one, you play for yourself, do you not?
It's very difficult to say that, because you look at they've been on a run of not winning in 5 games. So what's the comments after all those halves of football? I think Erik Ten Hag said we played a very good half of football, but if they were playing a team, i.e. a Spurs a couple of weeks ago, that wouldn't have been 1-0 at half-time. It'd have been more. And that's the difficult thing. Without being disrespectful to Brentford, probably not clinical enough, probably could have seen the game out a little bit better themselves. Against a better team, they'd have probably got beat again, and that's the concerning part. However, second half, like you say, a bit of a better performance, but it's easy when you're 1-0 down, because you've got nothing to lose. It's like, let's go out and do something. Let's try and change the narrative around things. So I don't necessarily buy into the fact of they're playing for him and what he's trying to achieve. I think there's almost a sense of a pride from within as well. And maybe the players in the tunnel might have said something to each other. Listen, we're not privy to it. We don't know. But he's still on borrowed time for me. He's still finding things very difficult. But one thing that we know with Manchester United fans is that they're very loyal to the managers. They do stay behind them. And I think there was an acknowledgement from him, to almost a nod to the crowd to appreciate what they've done for him.
I think it also helped, didn't it, that they scored so early on in the second half, because suddenly the crowd just lifted and you could see that the players picked up. And I thought Rashford, thought Garnacho in particular, I thought were outstanding. So, yeah, like you said, the crowd have been brilliant. They have stuck by him and the team, and they really sort of pushed them on. And you could see that there was just more energy and intensity in the second half. That there's been games that we just haven't seen that.
But the thing is as well, you don't, and this is how far United have fallen, is that we're saying it's a good performance against Brentford. That's not what they're judged on. That's not their league. Their league's the top 4, or should be the top 4. So when a tough game comes up in the next couple of weeks, what are we going to be sat here saying? What's the talk going to be about Garnacho, about Rashford as well? It's okay doing it against Brentford at home. It's doing it in away conditions when it's really difficult. It's doing it when you're playing a big team at home and that you're really needed. That's when we need to judge Manchester United and the players.
Stephen Warnock says he's on borrowed time. Erik Ten Hag would say that's fairy tales.